Good afternoon. Once again, this is Sam Rabin, the Community Outreach Director for the Farmville Area Habitat for Humanity. Welcome to hour number 8 in our 12 Hours of Giving event going on today. I'd like to first begin by apologizing for the video last hour. Somehow something went a little wrong with the audio on it. We don't quite know what was going on there. I don't know if the weather is affecting these live streams coming through or what, but for some reason the video came through just fine, but with no audio. So unless you're really good at reading lists, you were not able to get much out of our video last hour. And it was a great one too. I was sitting down and chatting with our executive director, Jane Johnson. We talked a little bit about Habitat's past, present, and the future coming up with that. I'm going to highlight a little bit of that talk in this video now. I want to share a little bit, just you and me right now. I'm not interviewing anybody for this hour's video, just me chatting a little bit about the Farmville Area Habitat for Humanity. Once again, we are live all day long, the 12 Hours of Giving Facebook event that we have going on to celebrate today, Giving Tuesday. And just want to start out by just encouraging everyone that may be watching this live or watching the replay of it later on today or this evening on Facebook to please like and comment, and most of all share this around so that other people are seeing it. Share it on your page, on your other social media networks with your family and your friends. Get as many eyes as possible. And if you would consider making a donation today. Today is all about making an online donation to our website, farmvillehabitat.org. And as I mentioned earlier today, we are trying to raise $1,000 in online donations today during this live event, our 12 Hours of Giving. And when we reach that goal, and I fully believe that we will, we have a very generous anonymous donor in the community who will be matching that with another $1,000. So when we get to that 1,000, it'll turn into 2,000. So you definitely want to help us be a part of that today. Just to give you an update on where we are right now, we've had people giving throughout the day. We are currently a little over $400, so a little under halfway to getting to our goal for today. So please, if you've been thinking about making a gift today, now is the time to do it. If you want to encourage some others to give also, this would be a great time to do that, so we can definitely reach that goal by the end of our 12 hours of sharing today. So I am again in the Restore. You may recognize it behind me. This will be the final time we're at the Restore today. We'll be out and about in the community again with the remaining videos today. But I have to admit, I do love the Restore. Before I was the Community Outreach Director, which I started this past April, I worked for a year and a half right here at the Habitat for Humanity Restore. Doing the driving, picking up donations, getting things ready for the floor, and just love doing that. So I do have a soft spot in my heart for the Restore. I'm always glad to have an excuse to come over and visit the Restore. So a little bit about what Jane and I talked about in our last hour. We talked a little bit about how Habitat got started in the Farmville area. And this past year, last year, 2015, was the 25-year anniversary of Habitat for Humanity in the Farmville area. Habitat for Humanity International is celebrating its 40th year, but we are now in our 26th year here locally. And that started, and it's a great story, back in 1987, a pastor named Mark Ogren, who was with the Farmville United Methodist Church, moved into the area, started pastoring there, and got together with some other local pastors, Bill Wilson, who was then serving at Farmville Baptist Church, and some others, and just talked about what they could do to serve the community, to bring the community together, work together to serve people. And what they did was they came up with a Christmas program where they collected gifts, toys, things like that, and they found families that could benefit from those presents, and they made that happen. And they did that for a few years, and they just had such great success with it, and it was such a great community bonding experience. They thought about what could the next step be? How could we move forward? And in doing that, Mark Ogren had read and had heard the story of Koinonia Farms, which I will talk about a little bit further in this video. But it was kind of the seeds for where Habitat for Humanity got its start. And he loved the story, and he loved the model of how Habitat didn't do things for people, but with people. And he brought that, and a group of people here in Farmville took that, and they formed a leadership team, and they got the word out, and they spent time educating people about the Habitat way, and raising money and getting ready to do that first build. So all those many years ago, great seeds planted in the local Habitat for Humanity, and 26 years later, 27 homes have been built or repaired. And this next coming year, we are poised for the biggest year ever, with 4 different partner families that we're currently working with, in addition to the repair projects that we have going on in Charlotte County and the house rehabilitation project ready to start there too. So great and exciting time as we think about that. In the last video, we touched a little bit. We kind of had a theme of taking off on our Christmas themes, Christmas theme of the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. We talked about Habitat, past, present, and future. We talked about that point that Habitat came to, being an all volunteer-led organization here in the community, and getting to that point where they were ready to increase their capacity, be able to expand, to do more. And they brought on a part-time director, the first staff person, and that was Jane Johnson, who's now been in that position for the last 12 to 13 years. And she shared some great stories with us just about what it's been like over those years and how it's been so meaningful to just get involved in people's lives and work with so many people in order to do something great in our community. And I mentioned that, and you may have noticed this as you've been watching the videos today, as we've talked to different homeowners, they all mention Jane. They all talk about how Jane was just such a great part in being their connection with Habitat, and how if you ever need a Habitat homeowner to do something, you call them up and say, Jane thought that you might be interested in doing this, and they're always right on board and willing to do that. We thank her for her service. We thank those pioneers who started Habitat in Farmville for their service, and we look forward to this next year to come. We've got a great year lined up for 2017. Right now we have, as I mentioned, 4 partner families, 2 of those in Buckingham County, 1 here in Prince Edward County, 1 in Cumberland County. And then in addition to that, we have 1 repair project that we're finishing up in Charlotte County, and about 5 others that are getting lined up and hopefully ready to go soon there. And then, of course, that home rehabilitation in an unoccupied home in Charlotte Courthouse that we're going to be working on in the months ahead. There's a build that's starting just as we speak, getting ready to start with one of our Buckingham families in Dillwyn. And then just a couple weeks ago, we celebrated a home dedication for the completed house here in Farmville. So it's been a great time, very active time, and so much more to come. This is poised to be the biggest year ever coming up for the Farmville area Habitat for Humanity. So again, I apologize that the audio was not working properly on that last video. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a recap of what Jane and I talked about. And I will mention this, where we were at that video. We've been kind of, where are we going to be today? Where in the world is Waldo? That kind of idea. Where is Sam? And as we go out our 12 hours giving. For the last video, we were at Farmville United Methodist Church. And as I said, that was because the Seeds of Habitat here in the community were started there, as the group that met for the first time was meeting there at the church. And as Jane was brought on board, actually her first office was tucked away in a little corner of a Sunday school room right there at Farmville United Methodist Church. And I just say all that to highlight the connections we have and that we depend on in this community, and those church connections are very important. Churches have always been a natural partner with Habitat and have always worked great here in the local community. So the other thing I want to talk about this hour's video is we're going to do a little myth busting. All right, one of my favorite shows that I used to watch on Discovery Channel, Mythbusters. So today we are going to deal with some Habitat myths. We're going to pop some Habitat myths, if you will. There's certain things that people don't always understand about how Habitat for Humanity works and what the program looks like. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. So I want to address a couple of those today. And so the first myth I want to talk about is probably the most common myth that's out there, is that Habitat for Humanity was started by former President Jimmy Carter. Now, Jimmy Carter has been a great champion for Habitat. He came on board with Habitat in the 80s, about 10 or 15 years after it had started, and just really gave it the boost that it needed as he championed the cause and as he volunteered and still volunteers to this day in his 90s. And so very many people, when they think of Habitat, they think of Jimmy Carter. The truth is, Habitat for Humanity, the roots for it started at a place called Koinonia Farms, tucked away in a corner of rural Georgia. This was a community that was going in the 40s, in the 50s, and the 60s, still goes on to this day. But it was a community where people got together across racial barriers, across economic barriers, and they took care of each other and looked after each other and built homes with each other, for each other, and just really helped each other out. And, a couple named Millard and Linda Fuller spent some time there seeing how things were done at Koinonia Farms, and they took that, and those became the seeds for what would eventually be Habitat for Humanity. The Fullers went on there to spend some time in Africa working on building homes and partnership there. When they came back to the States, that is where the first Habitat for Humanity began, celebrating its 40th year this year, its big 40-year birthday. And so that is where Habitat for Humanity started. Millard and Linda Fuller started it with the seeds of a place called Koinonia Farms. And I have to talk for just a second about that word, koinonia. Before I was with Habitat, and the way I was involved in Habitat, even before I was part of the Habitat team, was I was a youth and children's pastor here in Farmville. And so I have to talk a little bit about a biblical word. And koinonia is just that, a biblical word. And it's the word for community. And it really just sums up what Habitat is all about. It's about building community, the community working together to help and serve those in need, safe, decent, affordable housing. So, first Habitat myth. Habitat was started by President Jimmy Carter. That myth is popped. We have popped that first Habitat myth. The second myth we have about Habitat is this, that Habitat gives its homes away. We hear about people getting their keys to their Habitat house, a Habitat house being built for someone. Well, hopefully you have learned today in our various conversations with the homeowners we've had today that that is not at all how it works. We don't build for someone, we build with someone. We don't give a hand out, we give a hand up. We join hands together and work with someone who is in need of safe, decent, affordable housing. And when they become a Habitat partner family, there's a lot of work to be done. They have what's called sweat equity hours that we've already referred to today. Hundreds of hours they work on their own home and on the home of others, just learning and doing and side by side working with the community. In addition to those sweat equity hours, they also have to take a series of homeowner education classes. This is where they learn more about financing and budgeting, credit reports, loans, home maintenance, insurance, what it means to be a good neighbor, to be a great homeowner. Just a great set of classes that would benefit anybody and help build that solid foundation of becoming a homeowner. And in addition to that, they stay connected with Habitat after the home is built. The ones we've already talked to today, you've heard how they've stayed connected with Habitat over the years and served and supported in many different ways. They become lifelong ambassadors to share the Habitat story with others. Now, in addition to that sweat equity, they are becoming home owners, which means they are buying their house. All Habitat homeowners pay a monthly mortgage. Now, it is a very affordable mortgage that is made possible by all of the volunteer labor that is poured into the Habitat house as people come together to help serve one another in the community. So it does make for a very affordable mortgage, but it is a mortgage nonetheless, and Habitat owners are buying their house. So our second myth, and I am in the Restore, so I will say out loud, there's getting ready to be a loud noise, so I won't startle anybody, but our second, that Habitat for Humanity gives homes away, that myth is also popped. Now, the third myth that I want to talk about for a moment here with Habitat for Humanity is that you have to be a Christian to own a Habitat home or to be involved with Habitat for Humanity. Now, Habitat for Humanity is definitely an organization that is founded and based on Christian principles. The mission statement for Habitat is this: seeking to put God's love into action. Habitat for Humanity brings people together to build homes, communities, and hope. And it is those Christian principles and showing the love of Jesus Christ in action that started Habitat all those years ago and still continues to this day. But it is by no means true that you must be a Christian or profess a certain faith to either work with Habitat, volunteer with Habitat, or to be a Habitat homeowner. Regardless of race, religion, any sort of thing that so often divides people into groups, at Habitat we are all united by a common mission to show love to our neighbors and to show love to one another. So there are no discriminatory factors in working with Habitat, volunteering with Habitat, or in being a Habitat homeowner. Habitat has a central policy that is a non-proselytizing policy, which means that you will not be considered any higher for a home because you profess a certain faith. And also, when you come and volunteer on a job site, you don't have to be made to listen to a presentation that is designed to convert people. Habitat for Humanity, definitely a Christian organization based on Christian principles, but open doors to all who love one another, love the community, and want to be a part of serving those in need of safe, decent, affordable housing. So the myth that you must be a Christian to be a Habitat homeowner or a Habitat volunteer is also popped. Another myth we want to talk about for a moment here today is that Habitat for Humanity is an arm of the government. That it is a government program where the government gives away money and gives people homes. We've already talked about that whole myth about giving homes away. But Habitat for Humanity is an independent, nonprofit organization based on Christian principles. Now, we do work with the government and do take government funding to help serve more and to build more and connect with more people. In no way is that done in a way that would jeopardize Habitat having to minimize or lay aside their core principles and their core values. And every local Habitat for Humanity has its own structures in place to make sure that in no way does anything become dependent on any sort of government funding. So are the government and Habitat friends with one another? By all means. Any way we can help serve more people is always a good way, but is Habitat beholden to government funding or strictly dependent on government funding? By no means is that the case. Habitat exists because individuals, churches, businesses, civic groups, schools, local government, in its philanthropic ways, all come together to support their own and support their community. So Habitat being a government program, that myth is also popped. One final myth I want to talk with you here this morning is this: the myth that poverty housing, that substandard housing, that the issue of people having to live without and live in places that are substandard or that are not decent, or that in any way, people trying to get a better future for themselves, make a better future for themselves. It's just too big a problem for something to be done about. And hopefully, if you've heard anything today, it's that it may be too big a problem for one person to handle. It may be too big a problem for a small group of people to handle. But it's not too big a problem for a community coming together to handle. And that's where you come in. Volunteers and donors like yourself who embrace the simple belief that everyone deserves a decent place to live. It takes a community to care for the community and care for each other. And as we do, as we join hands together and help others around us and help our neighbors and show love to our neighbors, we become better people, our relationships become better, and the places we call home are all better for it. Now, you may have heard that my balloon already popped. I popped that myth real quick. So once again, what can you do today to make a difference in eliminating substandard housing, helping those in need of safe, decent, affordable housing? Over to our website, farmvillehabitat.org. Learn more there. Register to be a volunteer. So many different ways to volunteer. Consider giving a donation. Of course, we are trying to reach that $1,000 goal today. Online donations during our 12 hours of giving. farmvillehabitat.org and click on that donate button. Well, that does it for this hour's video. Where will we be coming at with our 9th hour and our next hour? Well, as always, you'll have to stay tuned. Join us at the top of the next hour at 5 o'clock and see where we are then. Until then, have a great day.